Good day, everyone. New day and new beginning. How are you today, partner?
I'm feeling good today, Lee. Especially that minutes from now, we will have another fruitful discussion on an interesting matter.
You're right with that, Z. It's good that you remembered that we will have a special episode this day about strengthening indigenous right to quality education. Let us not waste any more time and please introduce the Agilas who will be with us today in delving more deeply into the issue.
Our guest speakers for today are students from Ateneo de Davao Senior High School, grade 11, Strand. They share one balanced goal in addressing pressing issues in Mindanao and advocating for equal rights and opportunities to be experienced by everyone. Together with us are Mr. Greg Espiritu.
Hello, my name is Francis Greg Espiritu. I am from 11 Kasui and I am in the Strand. I'm interested in talking about this topic because I'm really willing to help those who are, I'm willing to help those who have no access to quality education. And it just makes me really sad that I'm able to have quality education while some other people do not.
Ms. Kushay Maida.
Good day. So, my name is Tushy Maida from 11 Kasui, currently taking the Strand, and I am pleased to be here to talk about the education of indigenous people.
Mr. Timothy Molina.
Hello everyone, my name is Timothy Gerard A. Molina from Humanities and Social Sciences Strand, and it is an honor to be part of this podcast, and thank you for inviting me.
Mr. Steven Bermudez.
Hello. Hi, I am Stephen Ian Dwayne P. Bermudez of the grade 11 Kasui Strand, as some would say. Personally, what caught my interest in joining this talk would be, I would just like to give my thoughts on this issue, and I'd like to see what I could bring to the table, basically.
And Ms. Gia Wu.
Hello, good day everyone. I'm Gia Wu, a grade 11 student and from the Strand. So I'm really very eager to talk about this topic, education. It's very sad to see that there are many children or kids doesn't get the chance to learn, and yet some of the Filipino youth take it for granted. You see, I really just wanna raise their awareness into this specific topic.
Welcome, guest speaker.
Well, Lee, I believe that education is important because it is the key to success. It also helps us to develop our critical thinking skills like mental agility, logical thinking, and many more. How about you, Lee? Why do you think education is important?
As they say, education at present is one of the strongest instruments towards having a brighter future. How about you, Greg? Why do you think education is important?
For me, I believe that education is important because a country cannot raise capable leaders without proper education. I totally agree with what Zia said when she said that education can help you develop critical thinking skills, decision making, mental agility, problem solving, and logical thinking. That is why I believe that without a capable leader, a country cannot develop and grow. That is why education is important for everybody, not just for you and not just for me. But in the Philippines, progress has been made towards SDG 4. But there are still challenges to be addressed. One of them is the imbalance in access to education, concerns about education's quality, and teacher qualifications. Overall, while there have been some improvements to education towards in the Philippines towards education, there's still a long way to go to ensure that all the children have access to quality education and that education is a catalyst for sustainable development. SDG 4 aims to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and lifelong learning opportunities for all. Education is recognized as a key factor in achieving sustainable development, promoting informed decision-making, community contribution, and social participation. Do you agree?
Yeah. I agree.
Yes, I agree with your point. I agree with how you emphasize that education is the key to, the success.
Yeah. The targets for SDG 4 include ensuring pre-primary and secondary education, increasing relevant skills for employment, and promoting gender equality for all. Achieving this goal requires a collective effort from governments, civil society, and the private sector to make sure that education is available, accessible, and affordable for all. But despite all of that, there are still problems that arise. The following are one of those problems, which is poverty. Poverty can hinder access to education as families may not have the resources to pay for uniforms, supplies, and transportation.
I agree with you, Greg. I believe that education can really help one country develop to become a greater nation. Well, Q, what do you think are the known issues or problems raised globally at the moment related to the UN Sustainable Development Goal number 4, quality education? Why do this exist?
We are all aware of the value of education. It is a human right that benefits everyone. We gain knowledge, experience, and benefit from it in many ways. It can help economically and socially marginalized people in rising out of poverty to obtain the means to fully participate in their communities. Everyone has the right to go to school, but IPs struggle to access this right. The dilemma regarding IP education occurs not only in the Philippines but globally. There had long been a problem with people of culture not having access to education. According to Gina Cosentino, persistent disadvantage and marginalization result in a lack of quality education that is incompatible with indigenous people's rights. The variables in this problem are somewhat complicated. Indigenous people have different beliefs and cultures than the majority of society, which is why they ought to have a well-resourced, culturally sensitive education that is aligned with their learning needs, languages, priorities, and aspirations, and delivered through culturally appropriate teaching strategies and in culturally appropriate settings. These IPs, they live in remote communities far from the city, away from opportunities. So that's why governments were already informed about this problem and already provided some programs. However, the problem now is sustaining this program because it's questioned. There's challenges that have to be faced. Thank you.
I would like to talk about my experiences about our hike in Arakan with my dad. It was Arakan is a mountain near Cotabato. Yeah. There we witnessed the indigenous people suffering. Their city was impoverished, and there was a man in his late 40s, I think. Yeah, I was very shocked when he couldn't read or write, and about 98% of their community couldn't read or write. That is, then I realized how crucial it is to have access to education. And we should change our mindset about this. Many people think that education is a privilege, but the truth is education is a right that all people should have. It is critical to acknowledge the structural problems that limit indigenous people's access to quality education. These include a lack of funding for education, cultural barriers, and limited resources. The disparity in educational opportunities will continue if nothing is done to address them. In a society where education is a right, not a privilege, we must work to make it more equitable, and it's time to put education first and guarantee that everyone, regardless of the background, has access to high-quality education. Then and only then will be able to truly empower people and communities to end the cycle of poverty and realize their full potential.
Knowing that many IPs can read and write really saddens me, Tim. Education is indeed important for all of us.
So, yeah. Hello again. Thank you for having me on today. So, yeah. there is a connection between the lessons we have learned in our Christian morality classes and the indigenous people's lack in quality education. Firstly, we can connect both these with our lesson on authentic human freedom, because in that lesson we also talked about the human person's freedom of choice, which basically means that we have the freedom to choose among several options, and that the connection between them is that since we have the freedom to choose among these several options, we should use that freedom to make good choices. For example, helping the communities of the indigenous people who are currently experiencing a lack of access in quality education. So, another lesson that can be connected to this issue is rational access, or to be more specific, man-made law, or also known as human law. Because in that lesson, we are taught that human law is something that is enforced and limited to particular groups. So the connection between this lesson and the issue is that we have laws established to help everyone in our country, and one of these laws is the right to quality education. This can be found in Article 14, Section 1 of the 1987 Constitution, which states that the state shall protect and promote the right of all citizens to quality education at all levels, and shall take appropriate steps to make such education accessible to all. Yet, there are still people out there like the indigenous people who experience a lack of access to quality education.
Well said, Steven. I totally agree. We all have choices and options. We just need to choose the ones that benefits us, the ones that makes us grow as a person, and those that would also benefit those around us.
Education indeed plays a vital role towards living, where this could really affect the generation in the future. More particularly, the Lumad youth that are the most affected with this problem. So, what should be the right response towards this issue? What do you think? Who should be also accountable, or held accountable rather, towards this issue?
I personally think that the ones who should be held accountable for this is the government. This is most likely due to the fact that they have not done much to do about this issue. But I will give credit to where credit is due, because yes, they have done some things to ease this problem, but it has not made a big impact to the point that it has helped the majority of the indigenous people who lack access to quality education.
First of all, if you ask me what is the priority for a better world, I would not hesitate to say quality education for all, especially for the indigenous people. We say that education is key to the healthy development of a people and their nation, yet there are still a lot of children who are not given the chance or opportunity to learn, which is really somehow quite ironic. As I have seen in a news article, 55 Lumads schools in the Davao region were shut down. So doesn't that mean hundreds or thousands of children lost their chance to learn? The government did give the learners an opportunity, but that wasn't even enough. It affected the learners because they had to study far away from home. The indigenous people lack the acknowledgement and support from the government, which leads them to being treated unequally by privileged individuals. The lack of quality education for them may result in conflict between the government and the indigenous people. It somehow may lead to the Lumads being resentful of the government and will only add up to the current issues of our society. Better plans and projects should be provided by the government wherein they could safely study in their place without leaving their culture behind. If the government gave enough support, the schools would not have been targeted by the military, and the parents would have not struggled financially, and most importantly, everybody gets a chance to learn. Thank you, everyone.
Yes, we also agree to what you've said. Do you agree, partner?
Of course.
Yes. What an insightful discussion we have today. To our dear guests, thank you for being with us. We had a great time.
As young Mindanaoans, how can we be of help in resolving the issue? How can we use our voices to raise changes?
Once again, this is Lee.
And I'm Z.
Dasig Agila.
Dasig Kabataan.
Dasig kabataan.
Dasig kabataan.
Dasig kabataan.
Dasig kabataan.
Ito ang boses ng kabataang Pilipino.